Well, we just had this realization that really hurts is that, so, of course, Landon's gone, so we lost a driver. And plus, Landon was just good at everything. I mean, just super responsible, help out around the house, hey, go fix this, weld this, mow this, whatever. He could do it all. And so, we lost that. But then we realized now, after Allie graduates, we have a gap coming with no teenage driver for how long is it?
2 or 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to we're going to revert back to the lowly place of having to drive your kids around.
But for real, Evie, I would totally put her driving right now. How old is Evie right now?
Evie could run the house better than I do.
Evie
for sure.
could drive. Like maybe she's 12, 13.
She's almost 30, yeah.
She could totally drive.
She could do it.
It's illegal, but I think you can ask for some sort of a permit.
Well, Ben grew up in East Texas where they drive at 14. So you get a hardship license and you're driving your family's truck.
Have we asked Ben how old was he when he was driving a tractor?
True story. One night, my dad and I, it was Saturday night. He had to get back home to preach Sunday morning. We'd been out, hunting the night. And I was 14. And he said, hey, I'm tired. I want you to drive me home. It's a 2-hour drive down the freeway. I want you to drive me home. I'm 14. Haven't even been to driver's ed yet. And I'm like, okay. So I'm driving him home. He falls dead asleep. He's dead asleep in the passenger car. I'm speeding. I get pulled over. And the state trooper takes one look at me and he's like, oh, we're in big trouble now. And somehow my dad laughs it all off and talks the guy out of writing him a ticket.
Wow.
And the state trooper got a big laugh out of it and let us go.
Wow.
Get out.
Dead serious. And then I drove him the rest of the way home.
You were kidding.
No, it's a true story.
I don't think his dad ever paid a ticket, but he got pulled over.
My dad got pulled over. We were all in the back being crazy. And I rarely saw my dad mad, but I watched some TV and I was listening to this interaction with this police. I was so mad. And I yell at the top of my lungs as that police is walking off, you'll be hearing from our lawyer.
The comedy started early.
That's funny.
You'll be hearing from our lawyer. Oh, I think my dad, just like one fell swoop, almost killed me.
Oh,
It
boy.
was so funny.
Did he have a good driving backhand thing?
He just shoved me in that seat. You never speak to an officer that way. But anyway.
Hello, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast from the City Rise Network. Hosted by Jennifer Dennis and produced by me, Justin Kello, we're a podcast that was supposed to be focused on parenting, but we've kind of lost the plot along the way. Honestly, we don't know what this podcast is about, but we talk to incredible people who love Jesus, and our hope is to provide encouragement and fun whenever possible. If our lack of clear direction bothers you, we apologize, but no one is making you listen to this podcast, unless you're married to Jennifer. Andy, thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast. We're excited that you're here today. We're excited to be with you. And Justin is a free man today.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
He came in literally singing, humming Christmas songs.
Yes.
Because it is the first day of school. Normally we don't date these things, but I had to point out.
No, this is the most significant thing happening in both of our lives today. So my youngest child started kindergarten. Your child started their senior year. So this is a significant day. Like, regardless of whether or not I wanted my children out of my house, like, it's a significant day for all of us in HISD.
It's a big day.
Gosh, it was the summer that would not end, and I couldn't understand it. And we went back and looked last year. They started on the 22nd last year. Like, this is a full 6 more days, which doesn't sound like a lot, but
truthfully, I think everyone in the entire United States has already started school before our children have. I mean, I think there were 2 pencils left at Target last night when we went to go.
Gosh,
obviously, we go to Target the night before we start school.
I feel like that's very on brand.
It's very on brand.
I think Olivia might have inherited that brand from you. Is that accurate? Like, is she also a little bit last minute?
She's also a senior.
Yeah.
She's a senior. Usually we would get, obviously, when they're younger, I mean, you buy the pack, right? They give you a pack to pay for through the PTO.
Yeah.
Has everything in it.
Yeah, nothing to do. Just pay right the check.
And then you finally move out of that. And then they get to choose their supplies and they painstakingly think over it. Last night, she just grabs a folder,
she didn't care.
a notebook.
Senior year. Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Doesn't
Senior
matter.
year.
Yeah.
But I went with her. I was like, you can go by yourself, but if I go with you, I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk to her one last time.
That's sweet. Well, it was a beautiful day. And there's just something about like a schedule and a place to be for everybody. Like, And this is where I think the homeschool families are so incredible because they somehow have structure and routine, but it's in their house. I don't have the discipline to do that. And so we have to have something forcing us to wake up and forcing us to like get going and get like, I don't understand how the homeschool families can do that. And I'm proud of them and it's great for them. But I need this school district telling me what to do. And my kids need the school district telling them
Well,
what
and
to
another
do.
thing about it that's so funny is, it gives you more to talk about with your kids because you can talk about their day, their teachers, their friends.
True.
So it kind of enters back the community into your conversation. It also makes them tired at night. They're ready to go to bed. And there is no more, can I just do this? Can I just do this? You're like, no. And the magic phrase, you have school tomorrow.
Yeah, I will say this. I've seen some TikTok videos from homeschool families that are like, we finally get the world back. Public school has started. So homeschoolers finally have the parks and the museums and all the places they go to supplement their curriculum. They're like,
funny.
we finally have the world back. So I could definitely see how it's the exact opposite for homeschool families. Or they're in the same boat. They're excited about school starting as well because they get the public spaces back.
And it's the getting now. One of our parents, Lacey, she counts how many lunches. She does lunch every day for kids. We all do, I guess. We set it all out.
Yeah.
But Olivia, it's funny because we try to find Olivia will be in a set place where she did peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for a year.
Sure.
Then she hated peanut butter. We're done. Ham sandwiches. No more ham sandwiches.
Yeah.
And now, like, we've been through chicken Caesar salads for an entire year. We've done like a charcuterie package for an entire year. Nice. And at the end, Olivia's completely done with these things and never wants them again.
Wow.
And I said, what are we going to do this year? Like, what is there left to feed you?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, what about this cheddar popcorn? You really like it a lot. She goes, no, don't do that. I don't want to hate that. So now it's like finding the food she's not tired of, but also finding the food that she doesn't want to later hate.
How funny.
It is. So it's like, I go, what if I surprise you? What if I just throw things together? It's in your backpack or we just have it there.
Yeah.
And then you're so hungry, you'll eat anything.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, that's it. Don't tell me. Just put it in the backpack.
Well, there you go. What did you pack today?
I put in a little bit of cheese, some flavor blasted. What are the
I have no idea
cheese crackers all the kids eat?
I don't know. Takis?
Goldfish.
Oh, goldfish.
Flavor blasted goldfish are standard usually.
Okay, wow.
And then some fruit, I think.
I love that goldfish are still a staple in your house.
For her.
Listen, we went to Costco the other day and I was mortified and frustrated with how many versions of cracker we purchased. I'm like, why?
It's true.
Why are we buying, like, we have the goldfish and the Cheez-Its and the graham crackers and like everything is a cracker. Why do we need and of course, Kristen's like, I'm never bringing you here again. Like, you don't need to be in this. You don't need to be
out of here.
This isn't your space. Let me give me crackers as my kids want.
It's so true.
Because we're a full-on cracker family and I don't understand why there's so many versions and why we have to have all the versions.
I do think we're going to save money now that we're not figuring out lunch. I mean, it just puts you back into space. And now we're ready for Christmas. Just like you were singing.
Dude, Christmas will be here before we know it.
I know.
And once again, to be clear, I was singing about Christmas because they have that line that says the mom and dad can hardly wait for school to start again because I could not wait. And I used to see like TV shows and jokes and people like, oh, mom and dad can't wait to get the kids back to school. And like, I get it. And it's not bad. I used to think like, oh, those are bad parents. It's like, no, like, without a place to go, your children start eating each other alive. Like for those of us with multiple children, they they're at each other. And I was like, we got to figure this out. And it was 1 billion degrees, so you can't go anywhere anymore. Like it was just, August was a tough month. And I'm so glad it's over.
The 1 billion degrees matters.
I'm so glad it's over. To
the point where you're just walking around, a lot of the greenery has died. It's now just straw.
Oh, it's brown.
And you're like, how is that not just lighting straight up into flames?
Yeah.
And it is in so many places.
Yes. Oh, I'm seeing signs that say wildfire risk in Houston. I'm like, where's the grass? Like, what's going to catch on fire?
What are we going to burn?
All we have is dirt, like dirt and concrete.
Flooding area.
Yeah.
A fire area.
I was shocked when I saw that. Watch out for wildfires here. I was like, really? Are we even concerned about that here? Like, there's nothing to burn. But I guess it is a huge concern. So we're excited about the fall. I think rain is coming. I think cooler weather is obviously coming. It always comes back. We always wonder if it'll ever return, and it does. So that's why I love fall. It's not only my kids going back to school. It was a sweet morning. Took a lot of pictures. My mom came in for the first day of school just because she likes to be here for the first day of kindergarten. It's kind of her thing.
That's so sweet.
So we got to get our kids to school, and it's just a great thing to be out. And I think it's just a lifeblood of the community is when school's
a sad thing. Olivia had her senior break. I mean, she had her senior sunrise where they go to the top of the parking garage at Lamar.
Sacrifice a cat. Like, what do
They
do?
take whatever. They take a picture against the sunrise, senior sunrise. So she had to get up and leave so early. We did not get a picture of her this morning on her first day of her last day of her last year.
Yeah.
I was like, Andy, we are the worst.
No, you're not.
Somebody sent me a picture. I was really thankful for
good.
that.
Good.
But yes, we're heading into senior year. And every day is a big deal.
Mhm.
Everything is a big deal. When I was a senior, there was one day it was a big deal. At the end of the year, we did this thing. It was called graduate. And that was the big deal.
Yeah.
But good gracious.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's good you only have one child, though, because I will say when you have multiple children, senior year is all about that one child. And so, like, the other kids just get forgotten. I
was telling you, our Christmas card is just going to be a picture of Olivia. Andy and I and the dog will be on the back, just hanging out like a wave.
Side note, I love that. Okay, so we were going to do senior photos yesterday. Literally yesterday was predicted to be the hottest day ever on record in Houston. And so I texted Jennifer about 5 or 6 days ago. I was like, hey, by the way, it's going to be real hot. I was like, you sure you want to do this? She's like, oh yeah, let's go. And then on Sunday, you're like, we've come to our senses. We will not do
Olivia's like, it's not that bad. I can totally do it. It's not that bad. I was like, and I finally said, we're going to be out there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you're going to be red. Your face will be red.
Yeah, you'll have makeup on.
We're going to be useless.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a whole list of things, cooler.
You got to do it when it's cooler. Yeah. And so I was not mad at you. I would have done it. I've been happy to do it. I don't mind being sweaty, but you're right. It would have been a tough go.
So I was glad to check out of that. But for real, I had no idea that everything was such a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even the little things are a big thing the senior year.
Yeah, well,
I just had no idea. But here we go.
It'll go by like that.
One.
It'll go by like that. You'll be done. You'll be like, I can't believe she's graduating.
I agree.
Cool.
Well, we've got speaking of seniors and speaking of stages of life.
Yes.
Today our show is two people that have seen
every stage of life.
All of it.
Yeah.
I'm always excited about our guests, but today is especially fun because I think this is a power duo.
Yeah.
A power couple, if you will, in our church. Please welcome Ben and Kelli Hays.
Hooray.
Hey, you guys.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Are you guys always used to be called a power couple? Is that something you go by?
I think that's probably the first time I've heard that.
Yeah. We've never had that one before. So.
Well, as you know, Ben is our young adults pastor here for City Rise and does an incredible job. And Kelli, she is working on her master's. She is the mom of, you're both parents of 6 children. You do that together. And Kelli is also, you're working in helping just launch a medical center in Africa.
That's true.
So power couple, I think that's pretty accurate. It's good to have you guys on the show. How are you?
Thank you.
We're good. Power couple, I'm not sure. I feel like we get ourselves in way over our head couple, and that's kind of the way. Accurate. Yeah, the way we've been living for a long time now. So, it's been a while since we've been on the show. So kids are all, bigger. So our oldest, Landon's graduated and he's off to East Texas working, doing very well. Got a great job and going to church up there, serving the Lord. So that's good. And then we've got this year? We've got 11th grader and then stair-stepped, all the way down to little Gwenny, who's here at ACV preschool. And so just, back to school.
So they're all back in school. Is it a different world now?
It's still all just kind of crazy. But yes, it is nice to have a little bit of a schedule.
Yeah, I like the rhythm of getting back in a routine. And then this semester will be particularly, intense because you got all the kids in school, but Kelli starts today, right? Back to school. Semester. She's got meetings.
Happy first day, Kelli.
Thank you.
Yeah, so she's got.
You take a picture holding a sign outside.
I really think I should.
We should.
My last first day.
You know who's super happy about the first day of school? This guy. Justin is so.
Today's a great day.
He's like humming and singing.
Gosh, I was singing Christmas songs because there's that part of that song.
Christmas songs.
You got a little bounce in your step this morning in the hall.
There's that part of the song that goes, "And Mom and Dad could hardly wait for school to start again." Like that's my entire summer. Like I love my kids, but when you hit August, it's like all camps and day activities stop, and then it becomes 6 billion degrees outside. And it's like, what do we do with these children?
And there's nothing else planned on the calendar.
It was too hot to swim yesterday. Like it was like
it's
like
true.
bath
How
water.
hot has the pool gotten?
It's like bath water.
And heaven knows you don't have a shirt on yet over there. Justin keeps running into people that listen to our show with no shirt on.
Yeah, because I'm at the pool. They're like, "Hey, I love your show." I'm like, Great.
Awkward.
That's it. See you at church.
So you guys are
That's
part of
funny.
a brand new big study that we are about to provide for our church that's really exciting. And we wanted to talk to you about that.
Sure.
And it's called Flourishing Families. Will you tell us the heart behind this new study that we're entering?
Yeah, so it's been really fun working on this. You know, Pastor Roger kind of pitched this to me quite a few months ago as we're kind of planning for fall, and so talking about a sermon series and a small group series to go with it, and it was good timing because at the time, you know, when he asked me to start working on this and start writing it, it was at a time where I'm having a lot of coffee conversations with dads. So my ministry style is very relational. If I meet you, I want to hang out. I want to do lunch. I want to grab coffee. I want to talk about life. And so I do that a lot. You know, every week I'm sitting down with dads, with guys. And so Flourishing Family, some of the concepts that ended up in the small group series really came out of like actual real conversations at Buffalo Grill with guys that are just struggling through life and marriage and kids. And so it's really fun to, that we got to do this together, that Kelli and I got to, kind of think through, subject matter. And then, we did the recording together here a few weeks ago to put the small group series together. And they kind of threw that on Kelli.
Kelli found out that she was using a teleprompter. How far before you were actually reading from the teleprompter?
About 45 seconds.
I was part of the filming. I think you were up here filming something different. And Kelly's just like being so nice because they're like, here's the teleprompter. Oh, if you will just show, just slow down a little bit.
Co-teach with no prep time.
Teaching Kelli in front of this entire audience of 20 people.
Yeah.
And she's being so kind. And I'm like, you got this, girl. And then I find out she had 45 seconds notice and have never used the teleprompter before. You never used one?
No, never.
Jennifer never has either.
Yeah.
Even when I put a teleprompter in front of her, she won't read it.
She
just is
difficult.
off script. Getting her on script, man.
Yes.
That's shocking,
difficult.
actually.
It's an impossibility.
Yeah. Well, we were actually driving. We're literally in the car driving over to film Flourishing Family. And I was telling Kelli, of course, our life's very busy. We got crazy stuff going on, lots of kids, lots of things, lots of projects, people scattered all over summer. And so we're literally driving on the way over. I'm like, hey, listen, babe, don't worry. You don't have to teach. You're just like, I'm going to teach the stuff. And then I'll just turn to you and ask some questions that, where they can hear your voice, your perspective. These will be things that are super easy. We talk about these things all the time. So she's like, okay. So we get there and about halfway through the first session, the producer's like, no, hold on. We need Kelli to like teach point number 2 on all of these,
Wow.
That's true. Thankfully, I had read his, book or whatever you call it. Like
kind of the script. Yeah.
1 month prior, just to like make sure we were on the same page.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you were really cool about it. You could not tell that A, you wanted to kill him, or
Not
B,
him.
or kill the whole.
producer.
Yes, you didn't seem violent at all. I would have eventually broken down crying, had to go to the bathroom, repowdered everything.
It was it's not my forte, so it was a bit overwhelming, but thankfully it was a subject I'm passionate about. So
yeah.
So the thing is I see that families are struggling. I think families, especially for some reason coming out of the pandemic with mental problems, family instability a little bit. Do you see that too? Do you see that it's an epidemic of just crisis in family?
Sure. I mean, no one does well in isolation, right? Like the Christian life is not meant to be lived isolated. And what did we do for, anywhere from 6 weeks to 2 years, depending on how your family handled things. And so you just were able to hide a lot of struggles that normally you would be seeing each other at church or school or ball games or whatever. I think we have not seen the full effect of the mental struggles that are coming post COVID. For sure.
I agree.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add, one of the things Roger said in his sermon yesterday really resonated with me, and he said it before recently, the idea that, the rate of change in society is extremely accelerated right now. So we're experiencing more rapid change than ever before. And when I sit down and talk to parents, just about real life, you feel the effects of that, and really it expresses itself in anxiety. And so with the kind of the mental health stuff, there's just a wave of anxiety. Everybody's really, really anxious, and for good reason. Parents are really, really, really struggling with big decisions. The world has changed, and the issues that kids are dealing with and facing. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, but the way the issues are expressed are quite different. And so, when I'm hanging out at Buffalo Grill with another dad and talking, they're struggling with, what do we do about school? What do we do about if the kid's a little bit older? What do we do about smartphones? That's a whole new thing. The smartphone didn't exist when I was growing up. And so some of these real contemporary sort of issues have brought, there's just so many options and so many choices to make. Even like school choice. We grew up both of us in a small town where there was a school in the town, right? Nobody had to think about where does my kid go to school. It was just your kid went to the school in the town. Well, now, I mean, it's like, it's classical versus not, public versus private, homeschool. There's so many choices and everything in between, and online and not online. And parents are left like, oh, there's so many choices. What do we do? And that introduces a high amount of anxiety. And so we try to address some of that. We talk about that in the live discussion in the session, some of those kind of fundamental questions of how much do I shelter my kid versus sort of equipping my kid to live in this kind of new world. And so there's some really good conversation that happens along some of those lines. But yeah, Kelly's right. I think the isolation has kind of led to anxiety and all kinds of just struggles in the home.
I think I have actual whole entire friendships built only on discussing where our kids are going to go to school. Like that's all we talk about. And here we are, senior year, and we are still talking about where our kids are going to go to school. I'm like, I was like, do we have any other shared interests or common things we could talk about?
Are we breaking up after they graduate?
Is this
like
social media. You can talk about social media.
It is crazy how much and it's built, just like you said, on top of so much anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I love the word flourishing because that's so much different than making it, surviving, keeping it together, moving forward.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about the flourishing piece.
Well, I think we've just seen, we've been in ministry, 22 years together. And not that our family has it all together. That is very far from the truth. But we've just seen so much pain caused within the family. And so we just really want to see, families come together. If you're both believers, hopefully your heart is to serve the Lord together, to love each other, love your family. But I think just people are missing the tools to figure out, how do we get past this hurt? How do we get past this grievance that was, done against me? And so we just really, our heart is to see families truly flourish because it's such a good picture of the gospel for sure. Like families can just be such a good picture of the gospel.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. With the marriage, is the metaphor between Christ and the church. And that's in the sermon series, obviously, as we unpack, Ephesians 5 and so forth. And the word flourishing, it kind of casts a vision, or it raises the bar of what we're after. It's not, we're not trying to teach you 3 tips to, survive your school week, but, how to really be healthy, how to really thrive. And a lot of this we learned the hard way, right? So, we went through some really, hard years, just, life work balance and stress. And, sometimes even within life in the body of Christ, things happen that are painful. And so, we went through a pretty significant season of trauma back in 2019 with really difficult pregnancy with a lot of medical issues and a very traumatic, birth. And then my dad died, a few weeks after that. And then, so we're trying to recover, like physically, just trying to like survive all of that. And then COVID happened, and then pastoring during COVID was the hardest thing ever. And so we just went from like, trauma to trauma to trauma to trauma. And so kind of coming out of that, I think it was, like January 2021, where like it wasn't a New Year's resolution, but basically on kind of like January 1, we said, look, all that matters in the next 12 months is making decisions that are best for our family, right? Like whether that means changes with church, with work, with school, with any of it's on the table, where we live, relationship, it's all on the table. We had to say, like, all that matters is that our family gets recovered and gets healthy, and we need to get back to flourishing again, because we were really struggling at that time. And so we did. So we just kind of cleared the deck and just said, all that matters is this family under this roof being in a good place and being healthy. And so we made a lot of changes and we got back to a place of flourishing. And like Kelli said, it's not, every day's not perfect for sure. It's, we struggle like everybody else with all the things everybody struggles with, but it's a good season. Yeah. It's a good season.
I like that you say that flourishing isn't something that just happens to you. Some people don't, it's not like some people flourish and some people don't. It's just like nothing you can really control. But you actually have to make specific choices to be a flourishing family. It is an act of, like you said, clearing things off, prioritizing family, that has to be the most important thing. And sometimes that's harder for people. It's harder for them to understand that peace, flourishing impacts everything else in your life, everything else. So I really like that you don't act like it's something that just sort of happens for you.
Well, one thing that we learned a long time ago, but had to relearn is that, anybody, or not anybody, but a pastor can be replaced, but a father can't.
Yeah.
And this goes for any job, the CEO of a company, like obviously he affects his company, but if he steps down, they'll replace him. But like he has to take care of his family, because that family gets one set of parents. And so that was just like really convicting for us. Like, we have to take care, like this is the dad and mom that God chose for them. We have to take care of our family, whatever that looks like. And so that really kind of, I think, started that year off like we have to.
Yeah, and those words exactly were so helpful and convicting to me, because Kelli was telling me this, my coach and my counselor were telling me this. It was all the same messages. It's like, look, your wife has one husband, your kids have one dad, and not much matters outside of that. If that's not healthy, then nothing else is going to be healthy. I think what happens a lot of times in contemporary culture is that there's so much pressure, right? Social media feeds into this. Lots of things feed into this, but there's so much pressure, and families kind of just get like sort of sucked into the hamster wheel. Just that centrifugal motion is moving, and they just get kind of sucked into it. And that's T-ball, and it's making the good grades and going to the right college, and it's the old keeping up with the Joneses thing, and it's the way I look on social media, and families just get kind of sucked up into it, and little by little, and that thing goes faster and faster and faster. And I think where families really struggle is getting off the hamster wheel. They really struggle to find that, like, they know this is not working. We have this facade of, you can look really flourishing on Instagram. That's easy to do, right? Your camera has filters for it, right?
Right.
But they realize beneath it, things are not good. We're really hurting. We're really struggling. But they don't know how to get off. And so hopefully part of the conversation in Flourishing Family is kind of recalibrating, reprioritizing. We talk about just kind of the hard reality of, look, your kid's probably not going to be a Major League Baseball player. It's just probably not going to be, but your kid definitely needs to know how to follow Jesus and live in community with other believers. And so we try to just have some conversations around, recalibrating, reprioritizing, and hopefully that helps people find, some exit ramps from kind of the crazy hamster wheel.
Right. So I remember within the last year, you guys have been through a specific tough trial, and I wanted to ask you about that today. And I didn't clear it with you before I brought it up. So sorry about that. And I have no teleprompter. So within this last year, you all were planning to adopt again, and you were adopting an older individual an older son that would have medical treatment here in the Houston area. And we got to walk with you guys like that, through that as a family, a church family. Our church prayed over you guys and prayed for this situation, and everyone got really invested. And then he passed away. And that was a really tough piece, because you're willing to give up everything, move everything, heaven and earth, to have this child come in and then for him to pass away. How are you guys walking in that? For those of us who feel like we've done what God wants us to do, we've done everything you've asked, and for this pain to come and for it to feel like it was in your hands, how do you reconcile walking forward in your faith in that? And how have you guys done that?
Wow.
Wow.
I didn't know we were going that heavy in this session.
Wow. I think that's
tough.
I think the answer to that question, we're not, for our specific situation, I don't think we'll ever know the answer. Or maybe not. I think, God was, allowing us to see if we'd be obedient, and then for some unknown reason, what we were hoping for didn't happen. And, something we still definitely struggle with. We don't,
Yeah.
I mean, I do think one good thing that's come out of it that we've seen is that a few other friends have started the adoption process after, which honestly, if I had watched what happened to us, I would never want to adopt because it ended so badly. But that is, I think, one good thing that we've seen come of it is that other families have been convicted to begin the adoption process. But as far as us personally, it's still really, really tough.
Yeah.
So even in your, go ahead, Ben.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, if we're being completely transparent, we still have more questions than answers, on that. And, in life, I think we have a lot of these why God kind of questions. And the reality is we just may not know. And it takes a long time to kind of just get comfortable with that. I can't say that we're comfortable with that now. I mean, I have some ideas as to maybe some good purposes that God had in it. Kelly mentioned one. I think the other one was, and this one is the one that probably maybe brings a little bit of healing to our hearts. I think that this child, he passed knowing that somewhere out there, there's a family that wanted to call him a son. And I think that meant something to him. And I think it just may have given him the peace to kind of let go, because he'd been fighting for a really long time. He's a very, very, very sick young man. And so I'm hoping that, it's a little bit of consolation for us to think that, maybe his final hours, because he had just, kind of found out about that he was going to be adopted. As far as we know, he saw, the photo book, and this is your house, this is your mom, this is your dad. And so I just can't help but think that God would have used that as an instrument of grace and mercy and peace in his life, as he was passing, but that doesn't erase all of the, the hard questions that we have. Like,
I think it's I think it's really great and transparent that you're willing to say, we don't know. A lot of times Christians sound like they can wrap everything into these beautiful little bows and that faith should be that way. Like in order to really trust God, you have to be really happy about everything that's happened or be okay with it. And for the questions to still be out there and for there to still be suffering, it's okay to walk forward with God, even though this has happened and we still don't have all the answers. And so as an encouragement to people out there who have their marriages broken up and they can't control their spouse, they can't control what they're doing and they're still walking in divorce, or they've lost someone significant in their life, or a huge major dream fell through. You're living in this. And I think part of this is you still can trust God. You can still put your life into God's hands.
Amen.
Well, even Jesus, in the Garden of Gethsemane, prayed, God, if you can take this away from me, please, if there's any other way, take this cup from me.
Yeah.
So, he wasn't like giddy to go to the cross. It was hard, but he still followed because he knew it was the right thing. He followed. And so I guess that's kind of been our example, is like, it's not easy at all. And one of us is still open to adoption, so we'll see how that goes.
I wonder who that is.
I don't know.
Is it? I know it's Allie.
Yeah, that's true. More than one of us is open.
2 or 3 of them. That's the $1 million question we always get is, so are you guys done? That season, I'm thankful for a couple of things. Thankful for our church community, because the Lord had brought us here, to where we have a much sort of bigger support system, and just for a lot of years in the church planting world, when Kelly was kind of wearing the lead pastor's wife hat, which is a very hard hat to wear, and so always love on your lead pastor and his wife and children, because it's a hard seat to sit in. When Kelly was wearing that hat, she was the one pouring into, and extremely rarely. She was pouring into others, and extremely rarely others pouring into her. Although that did happen. It did happen. And we had some close, very valuable friends that we still love and are friends with today. Always will be. But it was a different season where, particularly in the area of having older women walk beside Kelly through the things that she's going with. So I was very, very thankful for that during that season, that we had some older women, in our church. And I don't mean like heaps older, but just, a few years older than Kelly. That so I was very grateful for that. That was a gift of the Lord. The other thing I'm really, really thankful for, because it was a strange kind of grief. It was a visceral grief, but like intangible, if that makes sense. I can't really describe it because it was just such a unique situation of losing a child who we're deeply invested in, but he's across the world and we don't get to physically kind of be there. It was a very just different kind of grief and hard to process. But one of the things I'm super thankful for is that in our life, and this is truly a gift of God's grace, is that when we experience trauma, such as our firstborn being born sick, or, things at church, or loved ones dying, or when we experience trauma, we tend to come closer to each other. But we recognize that's really, really a gift from God, because a lot of statistically, families that have, a chronically sick kid or very significant trauma or losing a child, those marriages really, really struggle after that. Statistically, most of them don't make it. And so we're super thankful that we tend to and I guess it's just God's grace and mercy that we tend to come close together and we only get through this if we get closer instead of it doesn't drive us apart. And so I just want to recognize that is, God's grace and but there's a foundation there, and we kind of get into this in Flourishing Family. There's a foundation there of gospel and of, our lives are God's. That's kind of where it starts. And because the gospel, we find a model in community in the gospel and in relationships. So that's our foundation. So it brings us together during those super hard times. Yeah.
So talking about Flourishing Family, we talk about a lot of times in the church, we talk very specifically to husband, wife, 2 kids, family. And we tell them, this is how you do family. And with our world of just such a wide breadth of types of families, second marriages, divorces, lost children, people that are single, widowed, how does someone who doesn't have this traditional family, maybe they're, like I said, widowed or divorced, or they're not married yet, they're single, how do they approach this series? Because I don't want them to check out for 5 weeks. So
it's good.
What should they do to engage, and how should they look at this content?
Yeah.
Good question.
Very good question. Very good question. So,
and you lead young adults. You're going to have guys in your guys and girls in your ministry. What is this?
so I think the answer is simple but powerful. The answer is the church. The church. The church is the family, right? That needs to flourish. Now, granted, certainly a lot of the series is about marriage and about parenting. So I think that it serves in a couple of ways to those that don't have that, stereotypical nuclear, mom, dad, 2 kids and a dog and picket white fence or white picket fence, that whole thing. So I think number one for singles, I think, the biblical teaching about marriage is certainly equipping, right? It's theological equipping. Because honestly, the sermon series is like any other sermon series. It's expository preaching, verse by verse, through Ephesians 5, the last bit there into the first bit of chapter 6. And so expository preaching is always relevant to everyone in the house every single day. And so it's theological equipping that is relevant to singles, married alike. So that's the sermon series part. I think on the small group side, of course, some of our groups won't do Flourishing Family, some of our singles groups and so forth. It's a little parenting heavy, but I do think we have to remember that we do have single parents in our church. And I think that all the issues that we talk about in the room, with husbands and wives as parents thinking about their kids, all these issues apply to single parents, but they even have bigger challenges and even some bigger hurdles to get over, with a little bit smaller of a team and support system. So I think the church is the answer, right? The church has to become that family for a single mom, for a single dad. We talk about, divorced couples. Obviously, if statistics are true, then there's a very high percentage of people in the pew every Sunday who have been through the pain of divorce, or it's touched their family in some way. And so I think, the principles don't change, but we delivered them, with grace. And hey, if your story, has some brokenness in its past and this is the second time around or third time around or whatever the case may be, well then, okay, we pick up and go from there and we apply the principles about marriage and family in the exact same way. And we just do that with grace, and that, Paul says, forgetting those things which are behind, I press forward to the mark of the high calling in Christ. And so So the good, the good thing, Justin, about the Word of God, right? Like when you're really studying the Bible, the good thing is it's never, it's never irrelevant to anyone any day of the week, right? And so I think that, if the church becomes the family for those that don't have that stereotypical family, and we kind of apply the truth of God's Word, in a practical way, I think it helps everybody. I think it encourages everybody.
Let me say this too. I think we've all grew up in the church, and so we all had a season in the church where we weren't married, but we were out of high school. And there's this there's this season where we don't know how to minister to people who aren't families, really. Like in some ways, like a lot of the American church struggles with that. And then we also, on the other side of that, we have an issue where we walk into church looking about what's in it for me. Like what's in this sermon for me, what's in this worship for me, what's in this small group for me. And so if a single person or a divorced person or a widow or an empty nester walks in and sees Flourishing Family, and your first thought is like, listen, apply to me. You check your heart a little bit. I want to encourage the listeners to, and then also, like, how can you support this for those who do need it? Like, how can you look at the mom and dad who are, they come forward during the worship because they're struggling? How can you be the one that's like, hey, I don't have kids, but I can go pray for this person? Like,
babysit.
Sure. But like, how can we be the church family? Because I remember there was a season where I didn't feel like I could connect with God through worship. And my mentor was like, well, why don't you pray for those who are worshiping? Like, if you can't connect with God that way, stop thinking about yourself and pray for other people. And so if you walk into any serious church, you're like, this doesn't apply to me. Like, I think you can take a step back and like, well, how can I be part of applying this to somebody else? How can I be part of encouraging and lifting up others? And I think if you have those eyes, you're gonna find opportunities to do that.
This may be a good time to, Kelli can tell this part of the story, to talk about kind of how we met, because we didn't meet or get together in a big church with a giant, like singles ministry. And so it was a divine appointment. God brought us together, but being in a church in the absence of all those things actually helped our relationship blossom,
Yeah, the church we met at definitely didn't have quote unquote anything for me. Like, it was just,
there were no young adults there.
Yeah, I was, one of maybe two young adults, and just felt the Lord leading my whole family there when I was a junior in high school. And it was kind of weird because we left a bigger church with a big youth group, and God just led us there, and I went. And anyways, definitely were no young, handsome men there. And then 2 or 3 years later is when Ben came there to be the youth pastor, and I was in college by then. No scandal there.
Yes, she was not in the youth group, people.
And so that's how we met. And like, he obviously didn't come to the church either for, looking for a wife, because, there just wasn't a lot to pick from. But.
Yeah, it was like a build a youth ministry from scratch kind of deal.
God's like, this is definitely the person. There's no question.
For sure.
I love that.
After we both broke up with our previous relationship.
Right. I think you cleared the
And she didn't like me very much at first. She's like, this guy, he talks too much.
It took a little bit. It took a little while.
It took a minute, but.
Well, the cool thing was, though, how, and this kind of gets back to your question, just like how our relationship really blossomed is exactly what you're saying, was not coming to church like what's in it for us, but by serving, by saying, how can we serve this church? And so we just got in there, and Kelli was my number one, long before we started actually dating, she was my number one ministry partner. And so we did it all together. We painted all these old Sunday school rooms together in this dumpy old building. And we, went out on these ragtag vans that barely ran and picked up kids, out of apartment complexes and trailer parks and all out through the woods, and brought kids from hard places, really hard places, brought them to church. And so we, fell in love serving the Lord together, and God brought us together, just not because, we're going and looking for, hey, what's this church got for me? But we were just there serving. And so I think that is, this was long before, the whole online dating thing was a thing. It's like, right. You met everybody in real time, real space. Yeah. In person. And so I would encourage just like Justin's saying, come with the attitude of, how can I serve? And God blesses that,
Amen. So, man, it's been really good visiting with you guys. We always end the show with one last get to know you question. And so we call it the last question, I think.
The final question.
The final question. So the final question today is, who in your life would you allow or ask to plan the perfect day for you? the perfect day.
Ooh.
You're going to wake up and experience a full day, and it's supposed to be a perfect day for you. Who would you allow to plan that day for you? So immediately you would think your spouse. And I was like, would I let Andy plan the perfect day for me? No, I would not. I think that would involve a lot of what he thinks I either need to get done or things I need to improve on or things. Here's the deal with Andy. He thinks these are things I should think would be my perfect day. So I was just thinking in the car, who would I allow to plan my perfect day? And I actually think Olivia could probably knock it out of the park.
Oh,
She sees how I plan my ridiculous time, what I really enjoy. We enjoy a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
Who would you all choose to plan the perfect day for you?
I don't think I would choose my wife because I don't want that pressure on her. Like, I know that's a lot to like plan a perfect day for
Perfect is a high bar.
That's a high bar.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
But would you put your children in charge of it?
Yeah, Bear and Maggie. 5 and 7.
McDonald's.
Absolutely
They're
not.
perfect days.
Chick-fil-A.
I've had all day. Is there a perfect day? I mean, I guess you have to trust your siblings to a certain point because they know you pretty well. Like my older brother, he could probably figure it out. We haven't lived in the same town for 2 decades, but I think he knows enough about me that he could probably pull enough nostalgia from our previous years together growing up to make a pretty fun day.
That's good.
Wow.
Who would you guys
You
choose?
go first.
I may have to go with my sister. We're very close. We actually spent this past weekend together. I think she could do a good job. But Allie or Evie could do it too.
Yeah.
Like Evie is a little planner. Like she could do it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Ben?
I was thinking Evie could do it. So I know we're not supposed to pick our spouse, but this is extremely 100% genuine. Like Kelly's very other centered, and she knows me better than anyone, and so I really think that. She would probably do better than anybody, and it would be very, very simple. She would know that, I want to wake up, drink a cup of coffee.
First.
Yeah.
He left for work early this morning because we were out of coffee at home.
Yeah. I needed to get to my office because there was coffee there. Yeah. And yeah, so she would know, and here's the deal. I'm very simple, very predictable. I don't need a lot. Mostly, cool weather, be outdoors, maybe pick a guitar, maybe something in the category of hunting and fishing. She would know all these things. And I would probably trust her actually even more than the boys, because I feel like the boys would kind of slide in with like
what they wanted.
Yeah. There'd be a little something.
Your perfect day would include a water park.
Yeah.
You're like, huh? How about that?
I really can't think of anybody better, to be honest. Yeah.
What would be in your
cool.
perfect day though? Like
for me,
not the whole day, but like what's something that would have to be there?
I think it would have to involve maybe, I don't know. This is why I would choose Olivia. Olivia knows that I love a good vibe.
Okay.
And that means going to a place
A good vibe.
I can't explain it, but there's a place where you go where there's like maybe jazz music and then you're eating like really great food, but it's in a beautiful setting. And like you said, cool temperature.
Yeah.
And at this point, it may not even involve like the people so much as this like serene vibe that I really does that sound like
mine would almost
weird?
entirely be food and board games.
Yes. Well, food, not the board
Probably
game.
food and a massage.
Yes. See, I would have known that.
Maybe a walk on the beach.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll
and
ask Kelly.
time to read. I need 2 days. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Reading,
Yes, beach massage. Yeah, that's her. Where would you send me to lunch?
Oh,
on the spot.
to lunch. Yes, it is.
Sorry, too much pressure.
Is it in this town? Or is it like somewhere?
Killins.
Oh, wow.
There we
Pearland.
go.
Killen's
There we
Barbecue,
go.
Pearland. She got it. I knew she was good. Yeah.
I think
you
I
see
could
why I would
totally
choose her, right? Yeah.
Have you been to Truth Barbecue yet?
I have not. I want to try Truth. Let's go. You want to go?
Yeah, you gotta go. It's really
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Delicious.
I mean, Killen's hard to beat, bud. The beef.
I've been to both. I'm just saying.
Okay.
For Truth, ever
Yeah, Truth
Killins?
is so
Hey,
good.
let's go.
He
I'll go
loves
to Truth
It's
Barbecue,
so
bro.
good.
So
Yeah.
Kelly's not the biggest barbecue person, so it's usually I go with a dude. So
My wife isn't either.
yeah. Let's go, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
I like it. I don't like spending $100 on it.
Oh, that's
Right.
true.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, man, in the '80s, barbecue was a poor man's food. Like you had a chip beef sandwich for $2.50 on the side of the road. That's what barbecue was.
No, it's expensive.
Now it's that'll be $35 for your one beef rib and a
There you
pint,
go.
a little thing of mac and cheese.
Come fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us
Fun.
today. If you want to, first of all, learn more about Flourishing Family, our series, you can visit cityrise.org/flourishingfamily, or you can download our app, cityrise.org/app, and all the content is going to be there. So even if you're not in a community group or your community group isn't going through Flourishing Family, you're going to have access to all the lessons and all the curriculum, so you can go through it on your own or with your spouse, with your family. So I'd love to encourage you to be checking that out in the coming weeks, or whenever you hear about this. That's going to be an evergreen website, and it's always going to be on our app, so you can check that out and enjoy that teaching from Ben and Kelly. If you enjoyed this episode, please send it to somebody. If you watched it on YouTube, please like. It's free. It's free. Press the like button. Guys, jeez Louise. And then if you have anybody you want us to talk to, please email us at podcast@cityrise.org.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank
and
you.
thank you, guys. We hope you've had an almost amazing time on the Almost Amazing Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Almost Amazing Podcast from the City Rise Network, based in Houston, Texas. City Rise is a partnership of church campuses, nonprofits, and missionaries devoted to lifting our city and the world by generously giving the gospel of Jesus Christ. For more information or to find a church campus close to you in the Houston area, visit cityrise.org.